Hey y'all, it's Rick here with Uncommon Communion, and I am back in your feed early in the morning, unlike when I recorded on Monday, and it's still Monday as I record this, but getting back to my regular time. I really wanted to write tonight. I thought about writing. Can't say that I got hooked into a TV show or anything like that. The evening just kind of slipped away. And rather than stay up for another hour, it's 11:10 right now. I really need to get to bed. So, I'm going to kind of keep this on the shorter side tonight and be back with you on recording on Tuesday or writing hopefully on Tuesday for your Wednesday morning. Well, let's begin as we always begin by recognizing, realizing, and staking our lives on the reality that is the truth that we are always and everywhere in the holy presence of the more and each other. So, if you listen to my recording from Monday morning, I was heading out the door for a brand new first time training. I want to give you a little update in case you were wondering. It went well. In fact, honestly, I think it went about as well as it could have been for the very first time. It was interesting though, because you can see a presentation that is, a scripted, out of the box presentation. You can receive it, but until you present it, especially present it for real to the audience within your own particular setting, you can miss things, or you might suspect something but you might not really see it. And that's really kind of what happened today with me and my colleague and friend Corinne, who was my training partner, my training colleague, my co-trainer today. The group was good. It was 10. I think we ended up with new hires for this new model of support that my agency is implementing. So they were great. And I think very forgiving and very just willing and patient. One of them was really kind. Kind of later in the morning after we started, she and I kind of ran into each other in the hallway on a break, and she said, "You're a really good teacher." She's like, "It doesn't seem like this is the first time you're doing this," and she just was so complimentary, and that was so nice. That really made my day, and you really hearing it kind of early in the day kind of gave me a little bit of a boost to get through the long part, the afternoon part. What I did notice though is again relevance, and that is something that my colleague Corinne and I, and talking to our bosses, our managers, are really going to have to talk about. And it was learning, and we will continue to develop and learn and see where this goes. But I got to say, I'm tired, y'all. I do have 4 more days to train this week, and not as young as I used to be. And tomorrow's training, and then the next 3 days, it's that big 3-day training. I'm familiar with these. They're pretty confident. Don't have to, do too much mental energy. Like I spent a lot of mental energy on the training that I did on Monday. So I think that's part of why I am more tired. Well, some good news here at the start of the week before we jump into the next psalm, which is Psalm 34. Some big things one really big thing that we thought might happen this week is that the Haitian refugees, the Haitian immigrants who have come to the United States after just that devastating earthquake, many of them, that devastating earthquake that back a number of years ago in Haiti, that originally tomorrow, the 3rd, today, when you get this, excuse me, I don't usually sneeze on camera, and I do apologize for that. Sorry, y'all. Um, it is the good news is that a court has blocked that. And I just happened to see an article about this. And one of the reasons that this court blocked it in the writing by the judge is racial prejudice at the heart of this. And I really think that's important to consider and understand that the legal system, the judiciary branch, that third branch of government, is by and large holding the fascist regime at bay. And that is a really good thing, y'all, because if that wasn't the case, then the lawlessness would be even more pronounced and even more chaotic and even more dangerous and likely deadly. Another thing that was announced today, and again, announcing it and doing it are two different things. And then the third question is always accountability. You might have seen that it was announced that ICE agents are going to start wearing body cameras, starting in Minneapolis and then elsewhere, starting immediately. And again, it really seems like that is in direct response to the pressure that the regime is feeling for clearly overstepping with Minneapolis and elsewhere. And that is a response to that. And Congress is going to have to continue to debate ICE and funding. So there are things happening, which is really, really good. Well, let's talk about the psalm, and then I will wrap this up. Psalm 34, it is again on the longer side. It is 22 verses. I'll put that into the notes. I also realized that I did not do the Poor Bishop Hooper for 33, so I'll put 33 and 34 into the notes today in case you're following along with those songs that they have created. What stands out for me, and I'm not going to read this whole psalm, is in the Psalms, from time to time, we're going to recognize verses that are famous and popular, that are, the basis of songs or the basis of refrains, and or just you see out, on bumper stickers or things like that, right? And the part I'm going to read to you from Psalm 34 is very much in that category. And it's a lovely image. And again, I want you to hear how familiar it is. And yet, in this First Nations translation, how it brings a new perspective to it. So I'm just going to read three verses. And the first, I'm actually going to read four verses. The first one is going to, again, have images from the first peoples. And then the last one, I also want to talk a little bit about as well. So I'm reading 7 to 10 here. Grandfather's spirit messenger pitches a circle of teepees around those who have deep respect for him to keep them safe from harm. Grandfather is good. Taste his goodness, and you will know his sweetness for yourself. Harmony and well-being rest on those who go to him for shelter from harm. Show deep respect for Grandfather, for you are his holy people. Those who honor and respect him will always have plenty. Even young mountain lions grow weak with hunger, but the ones who seek to know Grandfather will not go without any good thing. Yeah, you probably caught the verse there. Taste and see the goodness of the Lord, right? A refrain from a very famous song that was part of my upbringing in the Catholic Church, and maybe you recognize it too. The taste and see the goodness of the Lord, right? Not doing it justice for sure, but you might recognize that. And again, I love that it says blessing, harmony, and well-being. You know, well-being is or be well is which I use, right, is one of the translations for the Hebrew shalom, right? We often think it means hello and goodbye, and it is a greeting and a salutation, a goodbye, right? But it really can be translated in one way as be well or well-being, right? Harmony, peace. And I love that this translation gets at that. The other thing I want to point out, and I haven't mentioned this yet, and I know we've missed some of these, but I want to point it out going forward, is the use of animal imagery in the Psalms. It is more common than you might think. And, we're familiar with and I've been pointing this out, the creation imagery, right? The stars and the moon as in creation itself, as we heard in Psalm 33, but using animals is is quite common. And I know this as a fact, and I'm going to see if I can find this. I think I know where my papers are, my printed papers. I seem to have lost the digital copies, but I think the printed ones are in a box in the basement. So I'm going to have to go check for that. But when I was in seminary, I took a class on the Psalms, believe it or not, right? Who knew? Who would have guessed? But the project that I and some other group mates did was looking psalm by psalm by psalm, correlating and compiling a list of the animals, and then kind of seeing how those fit into the biblical world, right? Because presumably the writers of the Psalms needed to know those animals, right? And were there any animals that were mentioned that that they didn't know? And it was, I think, a pretty interesting survey and an interesting study, really. So I'll see if I can find that and share that with you. All right, y'all, let's go ahead and conclude. I need some rest and I got to keep myself healthy and well this week. So, hoping to write at the same time. Life is pretty full, and this tends to come at the end of the day. And some days I'm definitely more spent than others. But let's end as we often end with the serenity prayer. God grant us the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, the courage to change the things that we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Thy will, not ours, be done. Amen. All right, y'all. Hope that your Tuesday is a good one. Blessing and good. Be well, be bold, hold fast, y'all.